Hi, I'm David from The Poptimist. I'm a booktuber. I'm part of that vast, long tail of YouTube where like-minded book nerds get together to geek out over what they're reading. It is totally a thing. But what am I doing here? Well, the Tournament of Books can't help itself. Back in 2009, they decided they'd turn on reader comments, and somehow it didn't explode into a dumpster fire of snark, outrage, and thinly veiled clickbait. Then last year, they got Christopher and Drew from the So Many Damn Books podcast to go on Facebook Live and offer up weekly recaps. And tournament goers didn't take to the streets in outrage. And so this year, the tournament thought on top of accomplished journalists, esteemed authors, respected editors, and PhD candidates, it'd be a good idea to throw it to some guy who makes book-related videos in his basement. So let's just dive right into it with the fact that both you and I know that Judge Brian Mehler is wrong. But he is wrong in the most excusable of ways. He even acknowledges how it's possible that he advanced the wrong book. The simple fact of the matter is that by reading Mohsin Hamid's Exit West first, he does no favors for Rachel Khong's Goodbye Vitamin. In Exit West, we are privy to the arc of a relationship. Saeed's in an evening class in an unnamed city in the grip of violent unrest when he first notices the tawny oval birthmark on his classmate Nadia's neck. Nadia is your Middle Eastern manic pixie dream girl. She's Zoe Deschanel by way of Lahore. She lives alone, drives a motorcycle, likes vinyl, takes mushrooms, and dresses with an eye to self-protection. Flowing black robes that cover her from head to toe, not out of any religious accommodation, but so that, as she puts it, men don't with me. When they're eventually forced to flee the city, Nadia, already an adventurous spirit, is ready to face what might be. She's excited to discover what's out there and who she might become. Saeed, on the other hand, clings to the past. He's homesick for the city of his birth, and he's racked with guilt for leaving his father behind. The different ways they navigate the new world together creates a quiet tension, and the book ends on a thoughtful, bittersweet note as we're reintroduced to Saeed and Nadia half a century later. And as we close the book, we're put in, as Judge Mehler puts it, a lyrical trance. And then you meet Ruth of Goodbye Vitamin. She's 30, sitting alone in her apartment that she's supposed to be sharing with her fiancé Joel, who, on the day of the move, announced he will not be joining her and will instead be staying at the old apartment with his new girlfriend. And he even follows it with the, "Don't get me wrong, I care for you deeply." And you think you know what you're going to get. There's the fun girlfriend telling her, just forget about him. The awkward New Year's Eve party, and Ruth suddenly realizing she's still wearing Joel's engagement ring. And this is going to be tough slogging. How did this end up on the short list? I mean, we're all about the literature here. Think of the tournament as a pitchfork for books. I mean, we're all about the Decemberists and the Mountain Goats, and we leave the Nickelback to the common rabble. Even Judge Mehler initially feels that this is a loaded game, one of those unlikely matchups the tournament is known for. Mohsin Hamid has been shortlisted for the Man Booker twice, and this, his fourth novel, has topped many a year-end list. Meanwhile, this is Rachel Khong's debut novel, if you don't count her earlier collaboration with Lucky Peach on a book called All About Eggs. Not a metaphor, in fact, all about eggs. And while books like Manhattan Beach and Lincoln in the Bardo can be unceremoniously ousted by relative unknowns, let's be clear, this is not a David and Goliath situation. And to his credit, Judge Mehler is too smart to fall for his initial impressions and eventually does come around. He's happy to admit these books are close contenders and in fact complement one another on relevant themes of home, identity, and loss of place. And all the kudos to Judge Mehler, who does an incredible job drawing parallels between these two books. With both displacement and dementia, there comes a point of no return, where the ground which has been vacated becomes lost forever, buried under rubble or a permanent darkness. And I appreciate Judge Mehler acknowledging the validity of Goodbye Vitamin, but I get it as a frickin' reporter in the Congo spending years writing about refugees and mass movements of displaced persons fleeing war and famine that he would naturally gravitate to the narrative of Exit West. Meanwhile, I'm a suburban, middle-aged, second-generation Korean dad who recently set his biracial daughter off to university, which means that my wife and I are navigating a whole new relationship with our only child and her with us. And despite how both Judge Mehler and I are uniquely positioned in relation to these two stories, I still think Goodbye Vitamin should have gone on. Listen, Exit West is a timely story, The distrust, the attacks, the isolation that Nadia and Saeed are subject to speak to the closing of borders and the growing xenophobic narrative that's becoming all too common. From the very moment you pick up Exit West, it is clear about what you're going to get, and it delivers exactly what you expect. Vast social commentary matched with lyrical prose. Goodbye Vitamin is something else entirely. It's as warm and familiar as your mom's cooking, but at the same time, this thing swings. I think when it fails because it doesn't meet the expectations readers bring to it, and that it requires readers be willing to have their minds changed and be surprised. I mean, this isn't an epistolary, millennial rom-com novel with the requisite meet-cute and third act payoff. It's not even a gripping Alzheimer's saga that wants to grapple with themes of identity and wrestle with issues around infidelity and alcoholism and the resultant collateral damage like some overacted weepy movie of the week. It's just a year in the life. It's about memory and forgiveness and how both are completely subjective and wholly unpredictable. Goodbye Vitamin doesn't resolve so much as it simply ends. But I found myself thinking about the book long after I'd put it down. Well, that was fun. Okay, Commentariat, I've talked about you all at length on my BookTube channel, about how you're not like all those other commenters on the web, how you're capable of reasoned debate and healthy discourse. Please try not to savage me too much. At the same time, I would love your thoughtful brand of book talk over on BookTube. Come on by, say hi, hit subscribe, stick around. Believe me, it is not all YA out here. Now, as this is the final match of the quarterfinals, I need to throw it back to Kevin and John so they can give us an update on the status of the zombies. So, this is the Poptimist saying thanks for letting me play along. Have a great week of reading, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye.